When the Red Army entered the Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp on January 27, 1945, they found the 4 crematoriums dynamited. In order to wipe out all trace of their crimes, the Nazis had dismantled the installations and blown up the undressing rooms, gas chambers, and furnaces in which over 1 million prisoners, the immense majority Jews, were exterminated. The Sonderkommandos, those special teams of prisoners selected by the SS, were forced to operate the crematoriums. These were the first victims of the Nazis, anxious to eliminate all witnesses. But a few of the Sonderkommandos survived the massacres, and 4 of them gave evidence to the tribunals. During the following weeks and months, several manuscripts in Yiddish were found buried under the ashes around the crematoriums. These manuscripts, written as the events were happening, and the testimonies given in the following weeks, reveal the modus operandi of the final solution, how the process of extermination was carried out at Auschwitz.
Lieber Gefinner von die Schriften.
Dear finder of these writings,
Gib dir lieber bloß ein Teil.
I report only an infinitesimal part, a minimum of what has happened in this hell of Auschwitz-Birkenau. I do not know or believe I will ever read these lines again after the storm, but I will be happy if my writings reach you, free citizen of the world. All that is written here I have experienced myself personally. During my 16 months of Sonderarbeit, special work.
Und mein ungeklebenem Zar,
And all my piled up distress,
mein ungesafter
my
Weid,
grinding pain,
meine scheuderliche Leiden.
my atrocious sufferings,
Gekannt anders
I have been able to express them in writing only,
losen
on account of the conditions.
Nur leider bloß durchschreiben.
I, the undersigned, Dr. Nisli Miklos, physician, former prisoner of the KZ-11, number A8450, declare that I have written this deposition according to strict reality, exempt of all passion, without the slightest exaggeration, as eyewitness and involuntary participant in the work of the Auschwitz crematoriums. As head doctor of the Auschwitz crematoriums, I have to provide medical care to the SS personnel of the crematorium, as well as the Sonderkommando, who number about 860 prisoners.
My name is Slama Dragon. I was born on March 19, 1920, at Zeromin, district of Sierpets. Unmarried, the son of Daniel and Malka Beckerman, both deceased. A tailor by trade, of Jewish religion, Polish nationality, and citizenship, residing at Zeromin before my arrest.
My name is Henrik Tauber. I was born on July 8, 1917 in Schanov, unmarried, of Jewish religion, Polish nationality and citizenship, a boot machinist by trade.
My name is Feinsilber Alter. I was born on the 23rd of October 1910 at Stoczek. I am a waiter, unmarried, an atheist, and of Polish nationality.
I arrived at Auschwitz by train on December 7, 1942, in a transport of 2,500 Jews, men, women, and children of all ages from the Malava ghetto. This transport was received at the station by the Lagerführer Plage, the Rapportführer Palich, and the camp doctor Mengele. Already at the station, they made a selection. dividing us into two groups. The women and children in one group, the men in the other. From the men's group, they chose 400. I was in this group. We were led to the Birkenau camp on foot.
Wenn ich bin in Lager do in Birkenau gekommen,
when I arrived here at the Birkenau camp, there were already a few buildings in the muddy fields, and they were building more. It was on the 10th of December, 1942.
bald beim ersten Reinkommen noch ein Sortieren,
As soon as we entered, after the selection from a convoy of 2,300 people, they chose only 500. The rest went immediately to be gassed,
mir nicht wissendig noch davon.
although we didn't know anything about it yet.
Mis gelaufen unter dem Gejäg von Steckens von die Postens SS,
We were running, pursued by the bludgeons of the SS guards, until we were absolutely unable to think of ourselves.
so hat poshet keiner von uns nicht gewusst,
Not one of us
was
knew what he was doing,
wenn tut,
nor when,
was mit
nor
ihm
how,
sich begleitet.
nor whatever was happening to him. We felt completely lost. Like automatons, we were running, pursued, not knowing where to run or why, or what to do. I am sure that at that moment, not one of us was living or thinking.
Nicht gelebt,
or considering.
nicht gedenkt, nicht getracht.
That's what they had made of us.
Also hat man von uns gemacht.
On the evening of December 9th, 1942, Moll, Flog, Palich, and Sivi, along with the Arbeitseinsatz Mikush, arrived at Block 14. Moll announced he was going to choose workers for the rubber factory. We each went up to him. Moll asked each one his profession, examined him, and if he was strong and healthy, directed him to the group, which, according to what they said, was to work in the rubber factory. My brother and I declared we were professional tailors, and we were sent to this group. The next morning, after all the commandos had left for work, Moll arrived at Block 14 and gave the order, Sonderkommando raus. This was how we learned that we belonged to a Sonderkommando and not the commando destined to work in the rubber factory. We did not know what this Sonderkommando was.
A Sonderkommando's life lasts approximately 4 months. After this period, one fine day, a company of SS arrives and gathers all the men of the commando in the backyard of the crematorium. A burst of machine gun fire, and half an hour later, a new Sonderkommando arrives. They undress their killed comrades, and 1 hour later, nothing remains but a small pile of ashes. The first job of every Sonderkommando team is to incinerate its predecessor.
The day after our arrival at the crematorium, the SS Unterscharführer, whose name I forget, gave us a speech. He said we were going to do an unpleasant job, but that we had to get used to it, and after some time it would no longer cause us any difficulty. He spoke in Polish. At no point in his speech did he say a single word about the fact that we would be employed in the incineration of human corpses. He ended his speech with this order: Los and die Arbeit, get to work, striking us on the head with a riding crop.
I was assigned to Crematorium 5 at Birkenau with 6 other Jews and 2 Poles in July 1943. time there already existed 4 crematoriums at Birkenau. Crematoriums 1 and 2 with 15 furnaces each for 5,000 corpses. And crematoriums 3 and 4 with 6 furnaces each for 3,000 corpses burnt per day. A total of about 8,000 corpses could be burnt per day in these 4 crematoriums. There were 2 shifts. The first from 7 in the morning to 5 in the evening, the second from 5 in the evening to 7 in the morning.
After finishing my visit to the SS, I go up to the Sonderkommando quarters. There I have to see to some wounds and burns. These are frequent. Organic diseases are not often found among the Sonderkommando men, for they have clean beds and clothing. Their food is good. One could almost say excellent. Besides, they're all young men, hand-picked for their strength and good physical constitution. On the other hand, there are a great many nervous illnesses. It is terrible knowing that here their brothers, their wives and children, their elderly parents, their entire people are perishing. Each day they drag thousands of corpses to the crematorium and load them with their own hands into the incineration furnaces. This causes deep depression and often neurasthenia. On my visits, there is always one who draws me aside and begs me to give him a safe, quick poison.
Sie fuhren. Alles ist geblieben gespannt.
They are on their way.
Sie, die Mörder, die
Everything
letzte
is suspended,
Verordnungen sie machen.
tense. They, the murderers, give their last orders. And our gaze turns that way, towards that spot, that point in the night whence the sound of the trucks approaches.
Sie haben jetzt die Korbones,
Now the victims have seen the truth in its naked reality.
dem Emes, dem Wirklichen der
They are
Sehen.
being led to their deaths. They feel their final hours near. The film will soon come to an end, and they peer nervously around, their eyes wandering in every direction. They search for something in the world, try to grasp one more mite of it, to imbue themselves with it before they die. The trucks have come to a halt, hearts have frozen. There they stand, the victims, terror-stricken, impotent, resigned and despondent, and their eyes take in the place, the building in which their world, their young lives, their throbbing bodies will soon disappear forever. They throw down their luggage, everything they have brought for the journey. They no longer want anything, nor need anything. They let themselves be pushed out of the trucks without resisting, and fall as if in a faint, like cut corn into our arms.
In unsere Ohrens gleich herein.
Here, take me by the hand, dear brother. and lead me on the last part of the path from life to death.
Every evening at about 7 o'clock, I've become accustomed to seeing a truck drive through the crematorium entrance gate with 70 or 80 men and women destined to be eliminated. These are the people selected daily by the Konzentrationslager. They come from the huts and the hospitals. They've been prisoners for several years, or several months at least, so they know with certainty what awaits them. When the truck enters, the yard is filled with frightful screams and shrieks of death. They know that at the foot of the crematorium chimneys, there is no more hope of salvation. I don't want to attend this daily scene, so I usually move away to the furthest corner of the crematorium yard. I sit in a small arbor of fir trees where the sound of the cries and the crackling of revolvers are muffled. The truck stops not far from the windows. The occupants are very quiet. I conclude that they have been chosen not from the huts, but from the hospitals. They're all seriously ill. They haven't the strength to cry out or even get down from the platform of the truck. The SS guards shout, become restive, press them to get out. Nobody moves. The driver starts to lose patience. He sits down at the steering wheel and starts the engine without moving off. The front of the huge tipper begins to rise gradually and pour out the occupants all at once. The victims are brought into the incineration chamber and placed in front of the Obersturmführer Musfeld's revolver barrel. Today he is the killer on duty, standing near the furnaces. Wearing a rubber glove, he has a firm grip on his weapon. The bodies collapse one after the other, each making room for the next. Within a few minutes he is toppled, and this is his usual expression, the 80 people. Half an hour later, they've been incinerated.
Gewöhnlich pflegt vor jedem Transport
As each convoy arrived, the Hauptscharführer Moll
sich heraufstellen auf a Bank,
used to climb onto a bench, fold his arms, and give a very short speech.
dass man geht in Boden rein und da wird man herabkommen nachher und von anderen Teilen in Arbeitsplätze.
You go to the shower, then you come back here for a distribution of work. And then, if anybody doubted the truth of his words, he whipped them terribly, provoking chaos and commotion to disorient the people. The Oberscharführer Forst was often there when the trucks arrived, standing near the door of the undressing room to touch the genitals of every young woman who passed naked into the gas chamber. There were also cases where SS men of all ranks pushed their fingers into the genitals of beautiful young girls.
Pregnant women were shot as soon as they arrived at the camp. If pregnancy had not been discovered, the mother could give birth, but in secret. And of course, she had to lose her baby, or else she lost her life with the child.
Es ist hereingeführt geworden, inmitten hellen Tag, 600 idische Englach, in Alter von 12 bis 18 Jahren.
In the middle of the day, they brought in 600 young Jewish boys, aged 12 to 18, all dressed in the striped uniform of the camp, all very thin and in tatters, wearing shoes or wooden clogs. The children looked so beautiful, so bright, so well built, they were dazzling in their rags. They were led by 25 heavily armed SS guards. Once they were in the courtyard, the commando chief ordered, "Undress in the yard." The children had seen the smoke from the chimney and at once realized they were being taken to their death.
We have not the courage. We dare not tell our dear sisters to undress, for the clothes they wear are their armor. The cloak in which their life still resides. From the moment they take off their clothes and remain naked, they will lose their last defense, their last support, the last mooring to which their life is anchored. That is why we did not have the heart to tell them to undress more quickly. Let them stay a moment longer, an instant longer, inside this armor, this cloak of life.
Ich bin doch noch so jung. Ich hab doch noch gar nicht genossen von Leben. Für was kommt mir a Teut? Für was?
I am still so young. I have not yet enjoyed life at all. Why have I deserved such a death? Why?
One woman tears at her hair and raves. When I approach her, I hear these words only.
Wo bist du, geliebter meine?
Where are you, my love?
Für was kommst
Why don't
du
you come
zu
to me?
mir?
After all, I am young and beautiful. They know and understand that we are victims like themselves. They speak because their hearts are overflowing, and before death they want to confide their pain to a man who is still alive.
One of us stood apart. He could not control himself any longer and burst into tears.
Each of them wants to know if her husband, father,
Vater, Bruder,
brother, or lover is still alive,
lebt dort.
or if his body lies somewhere stone dead, if the flames are already devouring him and no trace remains. And if she herself is left alone in the world with her unhappy child, already an orphan? If so, what is the use of living? Why stay alive? Bravely she asks with a reckless voice. Tell me, brothers, how long does death take to come? Is it painful or gentle?
Resigniert von sie schon lang.
A little girl of 8 is undressing her 1-year-old brother. A member of the commando comes over to do it. Go away, Jewish murderer. Don't touch my lovely little brother with your hand dipped in Jewish blood. Now I am his good mother. He will die in my arms, with me.
Some women rush upon us as if drunk with love, throw themselves into our arms and beseech us. They want to forget everything, to think of nothing. They are not allowed to loiter for long. The murderous beasts soon make their presence felt. The air is filled with the yelling of the drunken criminals in haste to satisfy their bestial eyes, thirsting for the nakedness of my beautiful, dear sisters. Baton blows rain on their backs, their heads, everywhere. Their clothes fall quickly to the ground. Some are ashamed, would like to disappear anywhere, not to expose their nakedness. But here there is no corner to hide in. Here modesty no longer exists. Morality and ethics go to the grave, along with life.
An order rings out harshly. SS and Sonderkommando have to leave the room. They go out and count their numbers. The doors close, and the lights are turned off from outside. At this precise moment, the sound of a car is heard. It is a deluxe car, marked with the International Red Cross. An SS officer and a non-commissioned officer from the medical department get out. The latter carries 4 green tins. He walks over the grass where, every 30 meters, short concrete chimneys arise from the ground. After putting on a gas mask, he removes the cover on the chimney, which is also concrete. He opens one of the tins and pours its contents, a mauve, granular substance, into the opening. The substance is cyclone, or chlorine in granulated form, which produces gas on contact with air. The substance drops to the bottom of the chimney without dispersing, and the gas it produces escapes through the perforations, and in a few moments fills the chamber, packed with prisoners. Within 5 minutes, it has killed them all.
In der Stillkeit von der Nacht hört sich 2 Porträts jetzt gehen. In der Licht von der Levone sehen sich die Silhouetten 2.
In the silence of the night, footsteps are heard.
Dem teuten Gas zu schütten.
In the moonlight appear the 2 silhouettes. They put on their masks to pour the fatal gas. They carry 2 metal containers which will kill the thousands of victims underneath. Resolutely they walk over to each orifice of the underground bunker, pour out the gas, then replace the heavy lid to prevent the gas from escaping. From the openings rises the deep moaning of the mass of people now battling with death. 2,500 lives henceforth lie stone dead.
The ventilation appliances evacuate the gas from the chamber quickly, but there still remains a small amount in the cracks, among the dead and between the doors. This causes a strangling cough even several hours later. For this reason, the Sonderkommando group, the first to go into the chamber, are equipped with gas masks. The room is once again brightly illuminated. Then a horrible scene meets their eyes. The corpses are not lying dispersed all around the chamber, but piled up in a heap to the ceiling. The explanation is that the gas fills the lower layers of air and rises slowly to the top. This is what makes the victims trample and climb on top of each other. A little higher up, the gas reaches them a little later. I notice that at the bottom of the pile of corpses are the babies and children, women and old people. At the top, the strongest. The bodies, showing numerous scratch marks produced in the struggle, are often entwined. The bleeding nose and mouth, the blue and swollen, deformed face make them unrecognizable. Nevertheless, the Sonderkommando often recognize their relatives.
Man muss das Herz, das Fühlbare, abtempen in ihm jedes weitogliche Gefühl.
You have to harden your heart, stifle all sensitivity, dull all feeling of pain. You have to repress the atrocious suffering that sweeps like a hurricane through your body. You have to turn into a robot.
Welcher seht nicht,
See nothing,
fühlt nicht
feel nothing,
und versteht nicht.
know nothing.
The Sonderkommando team, equipped with big rubber boots, line up around the mountain of corpses and flood it with powerful jets of water. This is essential, since the final act in death by gassing is involuntary defecation. Every dead body is sullied. The bathing of the dead having been completed, a job the Sonderkommando perform in total renunciation of the personality and deep distress of the soul, the separation of the entangled bodies begins. This is a very difficult task, They knot straps around the taut wrists, and with the aid of these straps, they drag the wet, slippery corpses to the lift in the adjoining room. 4 large lifts are in operation, and this is where they load the dead, 20 to 25 per lift. A bell rings to signal that the load is ready and the lift can go. It stops in the crematorium incineration chamber where wide double doors open automatically. Here the hauling commando waits. They fix the straps around the wrists of the dead again and drag them on specially constructed slides to unload them in front of the furnaces. The corpses lie in close ranks, old, young, children. From their noses, mouths, and skin grazed by friction, blood oozes and mixes with the water running through the channels dug into the concrete paving for this purpose.
Die Fies mit die Hand haben zu der Arbeit sich gestellt.
Arms and legs have set to work. Here is a group of comrades, each assigned to his task. They pull, tear the corpses out of the tangle.
Der für a Fuß,
This one by a foot,
der für a Hand.
that one by a hand, whichever comes easiest. It seems the bodies will be dismembered as they are tugged this way and that. The corpse is dragged along the freezing, filthy cement floor, and the beautiful alabaster body sweeps up all the dirt in its path. The defiled body is seized and laid outside, face upwards. 2 frozen eyes stare at you, as if asking,
Was gehst du, Bruder, mit mir da machen?
"What are you going to do with me, brother?"
Each crematorium had 2 iron stretchers for loading the bodies into the furnaces. These boards were placed in front of the fire. 2 prisoners put a body onto them. They placed it on the back, legs foremost, towards the fire, face upwards. On top of this body, they placed another, the face upturned also, the head towards the fire. First, we put the bodies of 2 adults and then as many children as we could put into the fire. Most often, the bodies of 5 or 6 children. We did it this way so as not to put the children's bodies directly on the grids. The bars of these being widely spaced, the children's bodies might fall into the ash container. The women's bodies burn much more quickly and better than the men's. For this reason, we looked for a woman's body whenever a convoy was burning badly, and we put it in the furnace to speed up the incineration process.
30 gehennemdicke Meiler flackern jetzt in die 2 große Binyonim und schlingen ein Korbones ohne Zoll.
Now 30 hellish mouths blaze in the 2 great buildings and devour the countless victims.
Das hellische Feuer zieht seine Zungen wie offene Ohrens aus.
The fires of hell hold out their tongues like outstretched arms, take possession of the body as if it were a treasure. The hair ignites first. The skin swells with bubbles that burst after a few seconds. The arms and legs writhe, veins and nerves tighten, make the limbs twitch. Already the whole body flares up. The skin cracks, the fat flows, and you can hear the sizzling of the blaze. You no longer see bodies, only a furnace of hellish fire devouring something in its midst. The belly bursts. Intestines and entrails spring out and within a few minutes disappear without a trace. The head takes longer to burn. 2 small blue flames glitter in the orbits of the eyes, which are consumed with the brain in the depths. And in the mouth, the tongue still burns to a cinder. The whole process lasts 20 minutes. And a body, a world, is reduced to ashes.
They direct here the surplus of the Jewish ramp. That is to say, those who cannot find room in the 4 crematoriums. The most horrible death awaits these. Here there is no water tap to quench the thirst after a several days' journey. There are no fallacious notices to dispel forebodings. No gas chamber that can be mistaken for a disinfection room. There is only a rustic house, in bygone times painted yellow, with a thatched roof. Its windows replaced by planks of wood. Behind the house, immense columns of smoke rise to the sky, diffusing the smell of grilled flesh and burning hair. In the yard, a crowd of some 5,000 souls, horror-stricken. All around, thick chains of SS with police dogs on leash. 300 or 400 at a time. They are directed to the undressing room. There, driven with baton blows, they lay down their clothes and come out of the door at the opposite side of the house, leaving room for the following ones. They come out of the doorway and immediately a Sonderkommando grabs them by the arm and holds them between 2 rows of SS along a winding path 150 meters long, bordered by woods, to the fire that was previously hidden by trees. The fire is in a ditch 50 meters long, 6 meters wide, and 3 meters deep, filled with hundreds of burning corpses. Along the edge of the ditch, and on the side nearest to the path, SS soldiers stand 5 meters apart, waiting for their victims. In their hands, they hold small caliber guns, 6 millimeters, used by the KZ for shooting at the nape of the neck. At the end of the path, 2 Sonderkommando men grab the wretched victims by the arm and drag them 15 to 20 meters to face the SS weapon. Cries of horror drown out the noise of the shots. Nothing is heard but the sound of a click. Immediately, the victim is thrown into the flames, before even ceasing to live.
Wir haben schon bis jetzt genug gehabt. Wir haben schon alles über genug, schon von lang. Wir sollen noch unsere Hände müssen eintinken im Blut von den ungarischen Jiden.
We had long had more than enough. Must we still soak our hands in the blood of Hungarian Jews? This led all the men of the commando, without distinction of class or background, and even the most reserved, to rage, that we should put an end to this game, be done with this work, and with our lives if need be. We, men of the Sonderkommando, had always said we were more especially threatened than any other prisoners in the camp, because the Germans would want to erase the traces of their misdeeds up to the present time at all costs. And they could only do this by annihilating all the men of our commando, sparing not a single one. This is why we did not consider the approach of the front to be a chance for us. On the contrary, we saw the necessity to launch our action a little earlier if we were yet to achieve anything in our lifetime.
Three and a half months before the camp was liberated, on October 7, 1944, the sole armed revolt in Auschwitz broke out. It was organized by the Sonderkommandos. Crematorium 3 was destroyed. Zalman Gradowski, one of the organizers of the uprising, was killed along with 451 of his companions. Leib Langfuss and Zalman Leventhal were executed at the end of November 1944, 2 months before the arrival of the Red Army. Slama Dragon, Henrik Tauber, and Alter Feinsilber testified to the Krakow tribunal in May 1945. Dr. Miklos Nisli gave his testimony to the Oradea court in Transylvania in April 1946. On March 5, 1945, near Crematorium 2, Zalman Gradowski's first manuscript was found. In April 1945, an inhabitant of Auschwitz, searching for Jewish gold in the ash pit near the crematorium, unearthed a glass receptacle containing a manuscript. It was by Leib Langfuss. The manuscript was hidden and only handed to the Auschwitz Museum in 1970. Zalman Leventhal's manuscript was not found until October 17, 1962.
Tiyu nishmoseihem tzrurois bitzroir achayim.
May their souls be bound up in the bond of everlasting life.